I mean, he was in the mix. He was finished at 5 under, 6 strokes back. I mean, he was there.
He played well.
He played well.
He played well. Jason Day played well.
Also, a reminder for next year to myself and for everyone out there. Final day of the NBA regular season, betting overs for individual players would be a lot of fun. The amount of random guys that scored a ton of points yesterday that half of our audience probably has never heard of because nobody plays. I saw a stat where there was over $2 billion worth of player contracts sitting out yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So you have the randoms. You have Jaime Jaquez for the Heat scoring 41. Pat Connaughton scored 43 for the Bucks yesterday. Imani Bates, our guy Rob Lorenzo's buddy, scored 20 plus, 30 plus for the Cavs.
He balled.
We need to make sure on the Friday before the final day of the regular season next year, we do random ESPN bet individual overs with guys we've never heard of.
Fine.
I'm dead serious. Go look at the box scores from yesterday. So as the Masters is going on, you got that on one screen, and you got on ABC and the ESPN app, watch ESPN, the Warriors and the Clippers. An overtime win for the Clippers that puts them now in a 4-5 matchup against the Denver Nuggets. And Kawhi was amazing in that game. James Harden played defense a couple times in that game, which I was stunned by. And then Golden State loses. Jimmy Butler's banged up. Steph was amazing late. Warriors playing. Any concern, ladies and gentlemen, for this? Now they're in the play-in. 7-8 against the Grizzlies.
You sound like you might have some concern with the way your voice is inflecting.
I'm just asking a question.
Well, you mentioned Jimmy, and I know that Steph still had 36 points, but he has that injury on his thumb as well, which you have to be concerned about now if you're a Warriors fan. Yeah, this is not ideal for them, clearly. Now, I still want to put a certain amount of confidence and respect in them, given everything we've seen those guys do together and apart. Of course, Steph and Steve Kerr, the Warriors in general, and playoff Jimmy. But yeah, this was not ideal for them. This was not an ideal way for them to end the regular season.
No, it wasn't. And there were a couple of brutal turnovers by Podge and by Steph Curry in the last minute of regulation. And you wish they would have had those back because you're talking about a tie ball game at that point. Any one of those possessions, if it goes a different way, if they're able to get a different bucket, maybe it doesn't have to have the drama of going into OT. Maybe they can clinch a top 6 spot. But they left it up to chance, and that chance was the beard, James Harden, going off in overtime. Mm-hmm. He was absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
I mean, he made every field goal for the Clippers in OT. He was able to get to the foul line. They just did not have any answers for him. Quite frankly, it's a different version of James Harden than we're accustomed to seeing in playoff basketball. And I thought to myself in that moment, if the LA Clippers can get this version of James Harden and this version of Kawhi Leonard, how far can this team go?
All the way.
I mean, if those two play like they did yesterday at the Chase Center, there's no way that the Clippers don't get to the Western Conference Final. They are that good. Now, defensively, I thought it was really impressive. I love the game within the game, seeing Jimmy and Kawhi go back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Steph got on a heater. They had to blitz him. They had to double him to get the ball out of his hands late in that game. But, yeah, that was a really, really fun game to watch. It was clear that both of those teams wanted no parts of a play-in situation where they'd have to win a game to guarantee that they would get a playoff spot. But I don't think this ends up being a death knell for Golden State because I do think they can take care of their business against the Memphis Grizzlies at home and find themselves in a best-of-7 series against the upstart Houston Rockets.
What if they don't? Talking about one game. I'm not talking about 7 games. There's no way either of you, I'm sure, or I would pick the Warriors to lose a 7-game series at this point against this version of the Memphis Grizzlies, having fired a head coach a couple of weeks ago. But it's one game. Jimmy Butler lives in the play-in, right? Steph Curry has been living in the play-in a little bit too. Like they're used to this. It's not a surprise. They understand what this is like. That said, what if they don't win? What if they end up as an 8 seed? What if they don't make the playoffs?
Oh, well, if they end up an 8 seed, there's going to be an early exit for them.
See,
that's a terrible matchup for them against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Mm-hmm. Awful.
And this is
Awful
why I
matchup.
think that this narrative, and our buddy, America's analyst Tim Legler, was on here on ESPN Radio yesterday in the morning and said, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for the Warriors to end up in the play-in because everyone plays out them playing against the Rockets and winning that series because of the youth. I would also say, the Rockets have an unbelievable head coach who's been there and done that and who actually went up against the Warriors in the NBA Finals. Oh, by the way, for the Boston Celtics a few years back. Obviously, different team. But the Warriors are older. They're banged up. The Rockets are deep, and they're young. if the Warriors are even fortunate enough to beat the Grizzlies, I don't think that's a cakewalk against the Rockets because of Ime Udoka first. I'm just saying, I don't think yesterday in any way, shape, or form benefits the Golden State Warriors like a lot of people think it does.
No, it doesn't benefit them. I'm just saying that it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, their season is not lost. You would obviously want to be where the Clippers are at. That's why the game was so closely contested. That's why they went into overtime. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's the death knell of their season, meaning it being impossible for them to find themselves in a matchup against the Houston Rockets and get on the winning side of that and advance to the second round. I don't think that's impossible. But given where they're at, they got 2 games at home to win one. They're going to get into the postseason. The only key is making sure that they get into the playoffs and they're matched up against Houston as opposed to being matched up against OKC, who has been the most dominant team throughout the regular season. And the marquee for the Oklahoma City Thunder is the MVP and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and of course the bigs that they can throw at you in any given lineup. So that's the part that scares me. The latter, the size, the front court of Oklahoma City is such a matchup problem for the Golden State Warriors. I don't know how Steve Kerr can coach around that.
Also, you talk about the age of the team. Now you're having to play extra games to go up against a team that's riddled with youth, that's going to be fresher and maybe more conditioned and more ready to go, which is another factor in all of this that I'm sure Golden State is really bummed out that they didn't avoid.
Yeah, and listen, they wanted to win that game yesterday.
Yeah.
You know how you know they wanted to win that game yesterday? Steph played.
They played hard as hell.
They played hard as hell, and Steph played because it was, as Smalls mentioned, he had that bandage all over his hand on his thumb. Now, you said, CC, about a week or so ago, if anyone outside of the Lakers makes the finals in the Western Conference, I will have a level of surprise. Any amendment to that with the Clippers? After watching the Clippers yesterday, would you be surprised if they went to the finals?
I would be surprised just because I don't know that Kawhi is going to be able to keep this up for a month. I don't think I'm going to get that version of Kawhi Leonard for a month. And that's what you would have to be depending on.
If they are healthy.
If you do, though.
Yeah.
If you do. With Zubac, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, with Norm Powell, with all of these guys doing their thing, they are going to be a tough out. They are going to be hard to stop. They got the requisite experience. They got the coaching. They got all the elements that you would need from a team. They got defense. They got shooting. They got guys that can create for themselves and others. They got every element that you would need for a championship team. The only question is whether or not you're going to be able to keep Kawhi Leonard healthy on the floor the entirety of the playoffs.
If he is, I don't know who's beating them. I think they could be that good.
Well, he looks like a 2-time Finals MVP.
He looked awesome. Outside of the final shot in regulation, good defense by Draymond.
That was great defense.
He looked awesome. And the problem, and I love Draymond, you can't be looking over at Bob Myers saying, see, I'm going to stop him, and then miss a layup late.
Yeah.
You can't do both, right? Come on. You can't search for the foul on the layup. I love Draymond, one of my favorite players in the NBA. But you had an amazing stop. You're looking over at the broadcast table because your former GM and your buddy Bob Myers is there. And then in overtime, you're looking for a foul on a layup instead of just taking the layup. That looks bad.
That was a great call by Ty Lue in the fourth quarter, having that review on the foul on Jimmy Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Because you needed that.
Yep.
Because you needed Dunn in the game. You had to have
well.
Dunn. You had to have Dunn in the game.
He played well, Chris Dunn.
Yeah.
Hit some open shot. I am very intrigued by this Clippers team. They are really